Welcome to Beta Goodbyes. Each week on our show, we spotlight species from the IUCN Critically Endangered Red List. These are plants and animals with decreasing populations, nearing the edges of extinction. So we'll share species research, information, and conservation proposals. And we'll spend part of the show opening a space for contemplation and awe. We'll improvise a soundscape of gentleness, of reflection, of delight, and maybe of grieving. Without conservation activity and significant societal shift, many of these species may not survive the 21st century. So perhaps we might acknowledge their journey with a moment of our attention, a recognition of our kinship, and with a commitment to personal and systemic change. Thank you for listening. On today's show, we consider the Crau Plain Grasshopper. The Crau Plain Grasshopper is a critically endangered insect native to Western Europe, to the south of France, in the Provence region, in the Bouches-du-Rhone department, specifically found in the dry grasslands of the Crau Plain. Its scientific name is Prionotropis rhodanica, and it was first described in 1923. The Crau Plain grasshopper is a large grasshopper with a stout body roughly 1.5 inches in length. We have a hard textured exoskeleton that is a camouflaging blend of earth tones, browns, grays, and greens, often with darker markings and spots that mimic the texture and color of the stones typical of their habitat. The Crau Plain grasshopper has a large rounded head with 2 compound eyes and 2 filiform antennae. Filiform means thread-like, so the grasshopper's antennae are long, slender, cylindrical, tapering slightly from the base to the tip. They are a key sensory adaptation. Antennae are the primary olfactory organ, detecting chemical molecules, smelling for food sources, and the pheromones of potential mates. The antennae are also used for mechanoreception, that is, sensing touch and vibration. They can detect changes in air currents, alerting the grasshopper to predators, and are used to aid in navigation. At the lower front of their large head are mandibulate mouthparts. Mandibles are a kind of small pincers that protrude from the mouth that the grasshopper uses to grasp and tear off pieces of vegetation. The grasshopper's large head is large in part because it houses robust muscles to power the mandibles while feeding, to grip, grind, and crush the tough plant matter of their diet. The grasshopper has 6 legs attached to their stout thorax. They They have particularly powerful hind legs adapted for jumping, and the fore and mid legs are more slender and shorter, used for balance, walking, climbing, and feeding. They have small, underdeveloped vestigial wings. They are incapable of flight and rely on climbing, jumping, and terrestrial locomotion, that is, walking on the ground. They are markedly sedentary. In zoology, the term sedentary specifically refers to species that remain in a limited area and exhibit minimal movement beyond their very local environment. So this is different from our common use of sedentary to mean like lazy or inactive. Instead, we're describing how a species does not travel far from their initial locale. In the case of the Crau Plain Grasshopper, a capture study found that the farthest a grasshopper traveled across their entire life from their birthplace was only roughly 150 feet. Their day-to-day is focused on feeding, thermoregulation, and predator avoidance. Crau Plain Grasshopper is a generalist herbivore, meaning they eat plants and are not picky about which, feeding on a variety of available vegetation: clover, spurge, southern daisy, dandelions, and various grasses, herbs, and shrubs of their plains habitat. They are ectothermic, cold-blooded, relying on external heat sources to regulate their body temperature, basking in the sun to warm up and seeking shade to cool down. The Crau Plain Grasshopper mainly relies on their camouflaged coloration to avoid predators, remaining extremely still when detected, though when directly threatened, their strong hind limbs will allow for evasive jumps. The grasshopper's primary predators are insectivorous avians, insect-eating birds, like the lesser kestrel, cattle egret, and the rook. In areas of abundant food, the Crau Plain Grasshopper will sometimes gather in groups, but otherwise they are generally solitary, interacting really only to mate. Mating occurs in the late spring, May, June, July, and the grasshoppers do not form long-term pair bonds, only coming together to copulate, after which the male may pursue additional mating opportunities with other female. After successful mating, the female then will burrow a small, shallow hole in the soil using her ovipositor. The ovipositor is a tube-like structure on the tip of a female grasshopper's abdomen, with two pairs of shovel-shaped valves that open and close to dig a chamber in the dirt for her eggs. She lays a clutch of about 16 small eggs, each about the size of a grain of rice. The eggs gestate underground for about 10 months, over winter, with the new nymphs hatching in early April of the following year. There is no parental care. The nymphs are born able to survive on their own, and they grow quickly. molting 5 times and reaching reproductive maturity in roughly 6 to 8 weeks. These adult Crau Plain grasshopper live for about a month, during which they attempt to mate, reproducing just once annually before dying. This is called a univoltine life cycle. So they spend roughly 10 months as an egg in the ground, 2 months as a growing, molting nymph, and then 1 month as a reproductive adult. In the dream, as is true in waking life, I live in a tower, closer to cloud than soil. And in the dream, as is also true in life, I long to be more near the earth. A small breathing stone in a field of stones, to be earthbound, to be intimate to dirt, to be still with dust and rock and scrub, bonded with the surface, not the skies. To wander a windswept plain and know its breath in my body like an old song, a song I've heard my whole life, that I sometimes sing too, in the dream. The Crau Plain grasshopper is native to the south of France, to the Cassols de Crau, the Crau Plain, roughly 30 miles northwest of Marseille and 10 miles from the Mediterranean coast in the Bouches-du-Rhone department. They survive in 3 distinct, isolated subpopulations, all within a roughly 15 square mile area. The Crau Plain is a grassy steppe, a vast, flat expanse of sparse vegetation and stones, pebbles, and gravel, deposits from a now dry tributary of the Rhone River. Roughly 20,000 years ago, tectonic activity shifted the tributary's path, and the resulting landscape now is this semi-arid steppe. It's barren, the soil is dry and rocky, and the vegetation is mainly low-growing, drought-resistant plants, grasses, herbs, and shrubs. The climate ranges widely. Summer high temps reach into the 90s Fahrenheit, and winter lows can dip below freezing. The region only sees about 20 inches of rainfall per year, most of which occurs in autumn and winter. The summer months are hot and very dry. The Crau Plain grasshopper shares its plain with sweet alyssum, common thyme, pin-tailed sandgrouse, western marsh harrier, great egret, star clover, European turtledove, northern wheatear, European rabbit, rook, purple loosestrife, viperine snake, common crane, mossy stonecrop, puncture vine, black stork, onion-leafed asphodel, meadow pipit, French flax, barn swallow, ocellated lizard, rough poppy, Eurasian kestrel, mountain rue, bittersweet nightshade, common swift, common mallow, Eurasian linnet, moth vine, reed bunting, pygmy cudweed, and many, many more. Historically, the Crau Plain Grasshopper population has been severely impacted by human habitat destruction. Large swaths of the plain have been developed for agriculture, highway infrastructure, military, and industrial use. In the 20th and early 21st century, the Crau Plain Grasshopper population was estimated to have been reduced by 70% due to habitat loss. Additionally, grazing from domesticated sheep threatens the species. For over 4,000 years, the Crau Plain has been an annual grazing site for these nomadic herds who are shepherded from the Alps in the winter to graze on the plain through the spring, and then returning to the mountains come summer. So contemporary shifts in these grazing patterns are affecting the grasshopper. A 2019 study found that there is a kind of sweet spot of grazing that is best for the grasshopper's habitat. Undergrazing, so not enough grazing, results in vegetation that is too high and too dense, which hinders grasshopper movement and reduces the availability of viable soil in which to lay eggs. But overgrazing results in vegetation that is too sparse. That facilitates predation. The birds can better spot their grasshopper prey. So changes in land use and grazing management are an ongoing threat. And human-induced climate change, due to our persistent over-reliance on fossil fuel, is already affecting the Crau Plain grasshopper population. During the last roughly 10 years, there were 2 summers of extensive, longer than normal drought, and 1 particularly cold winter, all of which impacts the grasshopper's reproductive success. Fortunately, roughly 3/4 of the Crau Plain grasshopper's habitat is protected in the Réserve naturelle des Coussos de Crau. A broad partnership has been established between the reserve, the regional government, the Eco-Museum of the Crau, the Conservatoire d'Espaces Naturels de Provence, Alpes, Côte d'Azur, and other local orgs. And they're taking a widespread approach to conserving the Crau Plain grasshopper. They've initiated education programs, installed fencing to prevent overgrazing, and instituted a grazing management program that includes economic compensation for shepherds. They've undertaken predator monitoring studies and developed experiments with overhead fencing to keep birds from the grasshopper's mating sites. The program is also exploring predator translocation, moving specifically the lesser kestrel to other parts of the Crau Plain. And on-site and off-site captive breeding programs are in place. These programs in spring 2024 celebrated the successful reintroduction of 60 captive bred individuals and 30 egg pods into the Crau Plain grasshopper's native habitat. Nevertheless, the Crau Plain Grasshopper has been considered critically endangered on the IUCN Red List since 2012, and their population is currently in decline. Our most recent estimates suggest that less than 5,000 Crau Plain grasshopper remain in the wild. Information for today's show about the Crau Plain Grasshopper was compiled from Oryx, Volume 53, from Conservation Biology, Volume 34, from Global Ecology and Conservation, Volume 44, from the Ecomuseum of the Crow, from Bulletin de la Société Étymologique de France, Volume 101, from the Journal of Insect Conservation, Volume 2, from the Annales de la Société Étymologique de France, Volume 35, from the IUCN SSC Grasshopper Specialist Group, and from the IUCN, from iNaturalist, from the Journal of Orthoptera Research, Volume 27, from Conservation Genetics, Volume 7, from Écologie et Conservation de une steppe méditerranéenne, and from Wikipedia. For more information about conservation on the Crau Plain, please see Conservatoire d'Espaces Naturels de Provence Alpes Côte d'Azur at cen-paca.org. So now I would like to perform some music in hopes of making space to be in contemplation of the other beings with whom we share our earth, like the Crau Plain grasshopper. I do not intend to force meaning upon or extract meaning from the Crau Plain grasshopper. Instead, I want this music to simply express my awe for all life. So I will pause in this space of sound and reflection, and I warmly invite you to join me. I honor the life force of the Crau Plain Grasshopper. I will commit its name to my record. I am so grateful to have shared time on our planet with this small, brilliant being. And I lament the ways in which I and my species have harmed and diminished this species. I grieve. And so in the name of the Crau Plain Grasshopper, I pledge to reduce my consumption, my carbon footprint, and my wastefulness. I pledge to acknowledge and attempt to address the costs of my actions and inactions. And I pledge to resist the harm of plant and animal kin and their habitats by individuals, corporations, and governments. I forever pledge my song to the witness and memory of all life, to a broad celebration of biodiversity, and to the total liberation of all beings. This has been Bad Goodbyes. Thank you for listening. Until next time, let's take care of each other and all of our kin.